we've been waiting for 3 decades!
Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Fuel and Fire podcast. As always, I'm your host, Josh. I'm here with my co-host, FaZe. Got with us Greg as well. And then our first-timer, Jishan. He's here from the win column as well. So we've got 2 Oilers, 2 Flames going to battle. Now that we're into the off-season, we don't have to talk about the playoffs anymore, mercifully, because that was getting pretty painful. So we can talk about some of the exciting stuff, the draft, obviously, the free agency, all that fun stuff in the summer. So, yeah, I think I'll kick it off with the draft. And, we've different situations. The Flames obviously had a lot of picks. The Oilers not so much, obviously, because the Oilers are good. The Flames are not. So that's why the Flames have more picks. But, yeah, I think from my perspective overall, the Flames had a pretty good draft weekend. I think if there's one thing Conroy knows how to do so far, at least, it's drafting. That he seems to nail that on the head. Honestly, all 3 drafts outside of the Honzek pick, which I think was a miss. Even in that Honzek draft, he hit some good picks, and then the last 2 have been really, really good. So, yeah, I'm excited to see how this draft pans out. Obviously, without a top 10 pick, you're probably going to be waiting 3-4 years until any of these guys actually start pushing. But I think it was a pretty good draft weekend. In terms of the Oilers, I have no idea. I don't think they picked until like the 7th round, so I'll let you guys speak to that one.
It was the 3rd round.
Yeah, come on.
No, definitely some more fun things at the draft for the Flames, that's for sure. You guys, I wanted to check in on how you're feeling about Reshny and Potter. We recently did some rankings on our sites for the Oilers and Flames, working up top 10 prospects.
This episode of the Fuel and Fire podcast is proudly sponsored by Ali Ramtula, your go-to realtor in Calgary. Ali is an award-winning industry leader who makes buying and selling real estate a seamless experience. No matter what your real estate needs are, Ali's full support will make you feel at home while finding your home. Contact Ali Ramtula today at 403-477-2280 or ali.ramtula@gmail.com. and make your real estate dreams a reality.
I want to ask you guys where you put Reshny and Potter in your top 10 rankings for the Flames.
Yeah, Jishan, I'll let you go first.
Yeah, I really like the Reshny and Potter picks. I think Reshny filled the bigger need. Like Conroy knew, the whole management knew they needed centers. And I think Reshny slots in number 2 in the top 10, just behind Perek, and I think Potter's 3rd. I think these guys are going to really help the prospect pool for them.
Yeah, I was going to say the exact same thing. I had Reshny probably as my number 2 Flames prospect now, and Potter number 3, which is probably a little more controversial. I know some people are a little unsure about Potter. They have him ranked a little lower from what I've seen from some of our team's rankings, like more in like the 4, 5, 6 range, just because of his size. But I think for me, a guy with like that skill level and that skating, some people say he's the overall best skater in the entire draft class.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, he's got other things to work on, but anytime you have that much skill and you can skate like that, I think it's worth taking a bet on a guy, especially at 32. I think that was a pretty big, one of the bigger steals of the draft, in my opinion. I thought for sure he would go much earlier than that. So when he was still available and the Flames picked him, I was super stoked. I think both guys have probably second line peak potential, which is good. It's not exactly what the Flames need. They need those first line guys, but I think given where they were picking at 18 and 32, you probably could not have done better than Reshny and Potter. That's 2 guys that can become legitimate second liners down the line, which again, at 18 and 32, that's exactly what you need. So given the hand he was dealt and, Wolf kind of screwing them out of a higher pick, I think Connor absolutely did the best possible he could in a first round with picks outside of the top half of the first round.
Although Victor Eklund. That would have been a great pick.
Who?
Victor Eklund at 16.
Yeah, let's not talk about the 16th pick that they gave up for Sean Monahan.
To be honest, Reshny might be it's probably on the same length, to be honest. But
yeah, I think when they came up to 18, I was like, if you pick anyone other than Reshny, I'm not going to be happy. I think he's like he's a center. He was the best center available. He had 92 points in junior last year. Like, given where they were picking, it was literally the perfect pick. I kind of was hoping Eklund would slip a couple more spots, but obviously that didn't happen thanks to Brad Treliving. we weren't picking until 18. But
Still,
no.
yeah.
Yeah, I think to get Resnick at 18, Potter 32, you can't really hope for much more. And I think even the rest of the draft for the Flames, they took, again, like later with Eaton Whitenback, and they took Aiden Lane, like a couple guys who, those later rounds, you just got to bet on high upside. And both those guys are high upside talents. You compare that to what Treliving's doing over in Toronto and picking some like Norwegian refrigerator who's got like 6 points last year in the second round. Like, I definitely don't miss that. So it's nice to see a GM that kind of bets on that high end talent instead of just picking for size. With that said, he did pick a 6'6" defenseman at 80th, which was a little questionable. But I mean, overall, I think it wasn't a bad pick, because as much as the models and like the NHLE guys want, you can't just take a 5'8" winger with every single one of your picks every single year. At some point, you got to add some different types of skill sets. So the Maceo Phillips pick, maybe at 80, is not the pick I would have done, but I think he still has potential to be like a good bottom pairing shutdown PK specialist guy, which is still a very valuable role in the NHL, especially you watch the playoffs. Like, a guy like that can be the difference in playoff games if you have some of those guys who can just grind out the minutes. So I think it's not the pick I would have made, but it's not like a Keaton Kanzik type pick. It's not like a Jay Feaster pick where it's just completely off the board. I think there's still some merit behind it, which is, again, much more positive than some previous regimes we've had in Calgary. Yeah. And Brad's now taking that to Toronto, thank God.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm a huge fan of Resnick. I think he's already just like a good face-off guy. He's already, I think, got some like good defensive presence about him. Obviously, a playmaker too. I don't know. I got a lot of hope for him. So I watched him at the tournament in the spring there, and he was so good. Really like a standout.
Yeah, honestly, I was a little worried he wouldn't even drop to 18. He was kind of the guy I always had pegged with that pick, like the guy I hoped would be around at that pick. And
yeah,
for some of the mocks had him going like 12, 13. Yeah, like for
Detroit really wanted him, like, oh, we need a center, like he's the guy.
And then there was a bit of a run on centers at the beginning of the draft, and I was like, oh, we're like, he may be gone. Thankfully he dropped. But yeah, I think we'll get into the rest of the offseason, which hasn't been as pretty for the Flames, but the draft, that was very nice, and they did a really good job. So I can give them positive reviews about that at least.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, good old Conroy. He's never done anything wrong, right?
No, well, once we go to free agency, we'll probably discuss a little bit more, but he's good at the draft at least. I'll give him that.
FaZe, is there any Oilers prospects from the draft you were liking?
Like I was saying, we were talking before this. I mean, I don't know anything about prospects these days. I've been focused on other things, but I mean, from what I read, a lot of people really like the Lewandowski pick.
Right.
And I think it's more than just the fact that he's German, because every Oilers fan seems to love a German as Draisaitl's friend or whatever. But from everything I've read, people are really high on him. Lafreniere is a guy that was picked where he was supposed to be. Salonen, I guess, is just the Oilers keeping up there. Let's pick a European goalie, a Scandinavian goalie each draft and see
what
if we can hit gold. Aiden Park, I mean, good story. The guy shows up to the draft and gets picked. He's Richard Park's nephew, so bloodlines from a different kind that we've seen in the NHL more recently. But I mean, I don't think any of these guys have maybe a great chance. Like, I don't think you look at these guys and that they're for sure going to make it or they're necessarily high caliber. Obviously, they can be. Like, they're 17, 18 years old. Anything can happen. But, for the Oilers, this is just fill up the pipeline where you can, and we're focusing on other things. None of these guys are making the NHL for many months. Yeah.
Well, that's fair. We still got to rank our prospects too.
Just scraping the bottom of the barrel with that one.
I mean, like, in terms of our actual prospects, I wouldn't say they're bottom of the barrel. They definitely not be there, but we got some good guys coming up.
Yeah, I think that's key too for like a contending team like the Oilers, where you can kind of plug in like a 22-year-old, on an entry level deal. You can play fourth line minutes or whatever. That's that's like goes a long way to kind of have those guys to plug and play on cheap contracts. I mean, you look at what the Penguins did for so many years. Like every other day, there'd be some random guy on Malkin's wing or Crosby's wing, like the classic like Buzz Flibbit like tweet or whatever. It's just we can have those guys you can just plug beside McDavid or Draisaitl or play fourth line minutes for cheap. That's valuable. So yeah, even if it's a later pick, still can go a long way to winning a cup eventually. But yeah, obviously for the Oilers, the draft is kind of an afterthought, whereas for the Flames, it's all we have right now. So
the main thing.
Yeah, that's what we've been looking forward to for 12 months since the last draft. So,
well, yeah. Have you looked at 2026 at all? 2 picks in the first round, right?
Yeah, we got our own, and then Vegas is unprotected, which it's not looking too good right now. Obviously, they just picked up Marner. They just won their division. Odds are it's going to be in the 20s.
But Pietrangelo, though, does Marner offset Pietrangelo?
It's a big one.
Yeah, you never know. Like, go ahead.
We're still gonna get McKenna, so it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, that's in our dreams. And then I wake up and we're picking 16th again. But
well, 2026 looks great right now. I don't know if you guys have looked into it.
Oh, yeah.
There's some awesome Swedes, Stenberg and Viggo.
Yeah, no, the top
like
I was reading today, someone was saying like the top 10 could all be legitimate first line stars. At least it's still early, but yeah. So I think even if the Flames can get into the top 10, like even if it's not McKenna, obviously that would be the dream and that would be the best case scenario, of course. But if you can get any of those top 10 guys, like that would go a long way because that's missing out on the top 10 this year is put a pretty big dent in the rebuild, I think. And getting Reggie and Potter is great, but again, I think you need those top 10 guys, and especially in next year's draft that's stacked. If Mark Stone could collide with Mitch Marner in practice and preseason and both go down for the year and Vegas falls off, that'd be we could finally get a win over here in Calgary. So
I think the problem for you guys is Dustin Wolf is going to be the reason why you don't fall into that top 10. So like I have an idea here. Hear me out. You know how in soccer teams will loan players? You guys loan us Dustin Wolf for the year. We can go win the cup, or we can at least have that goaltending. We'll give him back at the end of the year. You guys get McKenna. Everyone's happy.
Sold.
It'll be good experience.
That could be the future. I don't think there's anything necessary.
That's the best idea I've ever heard. Yeah. Conroy, and
throw Anderson in there too. We could use Anderson as well.
Sure. Take him. You don't even have to give him back. You just take him.
Joe, you gotta keep the room together, though.
Yeah, that's true.
You gotta keep the room together.
We don't want to start loaning out players, or else our room might collapse in on themselves. They're very fragile. So
throw a pizza party. Yeah.
Oh yeah, a little underground deal. Conroy says, "All right, I'll send you a Wolf for a 7th, and then in June next year, you just send him back to me for a 7th, and then everyone's happy."
Exactly.
Sounds like a good idea. And then, yeah, if you can just take Anderson for free, just don't send him back. We don't want him anymore.
I mean, while we're kind of talking about prospects, I wanted to ask the Flames guys, who do you think is more likely to make the opening night roster? Either Parekh or Brusevich next year? I
think, at least in my opinion, just because of the fact that Parekh can't play in the NHL next year, it's pretty much has to be. It almost has to be him. I'm not saying it has to be, but right. I think if he was eligible for the AHL, I absolutely think Brusevich would have been in the NHL, and they would have started Parekh in the AHL because I do think he needs more time before he jumps. Yeah, but just because of the dumb CHL rules, it's either go to the OHL and put up 200 points and like learn nothing, or play in the NHL where he's probably not ready for full-time duty. So I think just based on that, I can't see the Flames wanting 2 offensive right side rookies on defense. And I think because of Parech's situation, he'll probably beat out Brusevich just on the fact that he can't go to the AHL where they can just put Brusevich back in the AHL and let him, play a top 4 role there at the very least. Whereas for Parekh, you don't want him playing in the OHL. I think that's just, at this point, unless
he can work on his toe drag,
yeah. Unless he's going to beat Bobby Orr's record that he just tied, and that's his personal goal for the year, I don't see much point. So, yeah, maybe Jushin has a different opinion, but yeah, Parekh.
No, out of those 2, Parekh is going to make the jump this next year. But generally, I feel that it'll be like one of those 8-game trial runs, and then they send him back down to Saginaw.
Yeah. yeah, it's a tough situation when you've got a guy who's too good for the OHL, but probably not good enough. Like, I love Freck. I don't think he's good enough for the NHL yet. I just think a player like that, you probably want to give him more seasoning, but you unfortunately don't have the opportunity. So
the Oilers did something like this with Draisaitl, and lots of teams have done it where you can kind of like, give him those 8 games or 9 games, however you want to play the contract, and get him like 2 or 3 AHL conditioning stints, get him to like Christmas, go to the World Juniors, and then maybe after that, it's like, okay, now we're resigned to send you back to junior, and it's like a half a season instead of the whole thing, you know?
Yeah, I mean, the Oilers kind of screw the pooch on that one too, though. Like, they went past the 9 games so that they turned a year in his contract. They sent him down before when they could send him down. Like, I think there is a, can't remember what it was, but there was a timeline to still be able to send them down to junior, and so they made that, but they still burnt a year of his contract.
Well, with the rising cap, and if theoretically, if you're signing him to an 8-year extension after the entry level, is getting there a year early really that terrible? Right. I mean, it could go either way. I think circumstantially it could fit into the puzzle. So
I mean,
I take offense to that.
It did work out I guess it did work out for the Oilers and Draisaitl signed into that $8 million contract.
Yeah, I'd say the Draisaitl situation worked out pretty well for them. So
yeah.
But yeah, I guess it depends on Anderson too. Like, he plays the same side, and everyone kind of assumed he would be gone and there would be all these holes. But now it kind of looks like he might still be around. There's still time until September, obviously. But if he's back too, they've got an absolutely crowded blue line of just way too many bodies, which could also impact, what they do with Parekh and Brustevich. Like, they don't want to just sit them in the press box all night, or every game. So that could be a factor too. I mean, personally, I think if you get to October and Anderson's still on the team and he's taking up spots from some of your young guys, that's a pretty big failure on the organization. So again, there's still 2 months, so we'll see what happens. But based on what we've heard, it kind of went from, there's no chance he'll be back. Then the draft happens, free agency happens, and now it's kind of like, he might actually still be around. So that's a little concerning, because I think the last thing you want is him just kind of toiling around waiting to be traded while he's taking up ice time from a guy like Parekh, who you absolutely want to be playing and kind of rounding out his game. So I think there's still, for most teams, that they've kind of done their big moves in the offseason, whereas the Flames, I think we're still kind of waiting for the shoe to drop. So I think
that's a good point.
Yeah, there could be a lot more shifting going on, but I think Friedman mentioned on 32 Thoughts too that Conroy was in and around like a lot of big things like that we haven't heard about, like big blockbuster moves that just didn't come to fruition. So there could be something boiling, or there could just be nothing like usual, and then Anderson just comes back and we trade him for nothing at the deadline. I think that's still a possibility, unfortunately, but we'll see what happens. Yeah, that's a good point. Given how this is going, absolutely. Yeah, given that apparently LA came up with an absolute huge offer, multiple firsts is what we've heard, kind of people have said around that, and he didn't want to sign there, so that was next. And now it's kind of the same thing that happened with Hanifin, where it's like, he's like, I'll go to Vegas, or I'm assuming it's probably like Tampa, Florida, Dallas, like those same teams where all those teams don't have assets because they're like the Oilers and they're win now. So they're trading those away to win cups. And when you're kind of dealing with that situation, I think, I've kind of resigned myself to be underwhelmed with this Anderson return. I'll be shocked if it's good. And I still have hope. I don't want to rag on Conroy too much. The trade hasn't happened yet, but given what we saw with Hanifin, where he kind of just strong-armed his way to Vegas, Conroy picked up Daniil Miramanov, who's not very good. Like, I feel like this. I feel like I'm gonna open my phone one day. It's gonna be like, Brett Howden in the 2nd round pick for Anderson. And
was Pahal in that deal, or
no? He was a waiver claim.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and
he's not bad.
He's literally better than the guy they tried to trade for, Miramanov. So I mean, I guess if you look at it that way, it was Hanifin for Pashal, Miramanov in a 2nd. It looks a little bit better, but yeah, no, he's not. He's a bottom pairing guy at best too. So, which again, another one of those. The Flames have like 4 bottom pairing defensemen for 2 spots. So something's got to budge here. And it's getting a little frustrating with how long it's taking. I think having patience can be a good thing, but it can also be a bad thing if you let it draw out too long. And I think with Conroy, it's starting to get to that situation where it may be a bad thing. Again, I don't want to rag on him too much. I'm supposed to be a Flames fan, but we'll see what happens. Maybe in a couple of weeks, if we do another episode, he'll fleece Vegas or something, and we'll be happy. But that doesn't seem like the likely outcome at this point.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the thing is like you're ragging on him, but like he's not in a great position to trade him, right? Like what's Anderson's trade protection again? Like 6-team no trade. So, Anderson still has some power there. And we've seen what happens in the past with so many different deals where someone has, it's not just Conroy, it's not just the Flames, where a player has that power, you can only get so much, right? So
yeah, I think the biggest issue is he seems to be more reactive than proactive. Like really, you should have been looking to move Anderson last summer. After you finished 9th last, you traded Markstrom, you traded Mangiapane. It's like now would be the time versus at that time, from what we've heard, they still wanted to bring him back for 8 years.
Right.
And then they still wanted to up until this summer pretty much when Anderson's number was way too high. So now he wants to trade him, which I think is where that situation kind of fell flat for Conroy, and the fact that now it's the summer before the last year of his deal. And now, Anderson can, pretty much just say, I'm not going anywhere other than these two teams. Good luck trading me. And if not, then I'll just walk and I'll sign in Vegas next summer. So
yeah, exactly.
I think, if Conroy would have tackled it earlier, maybe this wouldn't be the case. But I do feel for him to have back-to-back defensemen in their 20s who should be valuable assets both be like, yeah, I'm going to Vegas or nowhere, which just seems like bad luck, honestly, to have that happen 2 years in a row. But that's just part of the business. So at the end of the day, hopefully he's able to at least get something out of it, because I don't want another Daniil Miromanov situation. That's still have PTSD from that trade last year. So
Josh, for your birthday, I'm going to get you a Miromanov jersey.
I will not wear that ever.
Oh, well, you guys, maybe there's another fuel and fire bet for the next upcoming season after what was it, Mantha versus
After Mantha and Hyman, where Josh got lucky with the injury to Mantha.
Yeah. Incomplete bet, not able to be finished, unfortunately.
Exactly.
So sad.
I should have cashed out early.
Yeah, you should have cashed out early while you were ahead.
Yeah, exactly.
No, I think, we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. Maybe, I mean, with the Lindholm situation, we kind of ragged on Conroy too, and then he ended up getting an absolute haul for Lindholm.
That was amazing, yeah.
Without an extension, so maybe he does the same with Anderson. Maybe he's patient. The trade comes later into the year, but he ends up, team ends up stepping up even without an extension, pays a good amount, and the Flames are better for it. So I'll hold too much judgment until then. But I think given the past and what we've seen with Hanifin, this definitely feels like the same situation. But maybe Conroy learned from that. He was only in his first year of his GM at that time, so maybe he's learned, and maybe he'll correct his mistakes. But it's just a frustrating time in Calgary because that's kind of the main thing we were looking forward to this offseason is making some moves, kind of picking up future assets, and they haven't done that. So another fun time as a Flames.
They added their second and third best prospects, right? That's something.
Yeah, the draft was good. I'll give them that.
Recommend
free agency.
We're not going to see for like
so
3
much.
years because they're playing in college.
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing. And like Reznik, Potter, like they're good players, and I think they're going to be good players. But yeah, they're both probably 3-4 years away, and when they do come, it's going to be like second line guys, which is very valuable, but not what the Flames need. They need those key franchise guys, and then Reznik, Potter could be the complementary pieces. So there's still a very large hole missing in the Flames retool, high build, whatever they call it, puzzle that they still need to find, whether that's through the draft, through a trade, I don't know. But yeah, there's a very large piece missing here that I think, we hear about Conroy's plan. I'd love to hear his plan to actually find high-end talent to bring in, because Jonathan Huberdeau is just not doing it.
I definitely believe Conroy wants to go team tank or just full rebuild, but I think it's like ownership and those guys that are pushing them more to try to stay a little competitive.
Yeah, no, I fully agree. I think if you took Conroy off the record and said, would you rebuild if you could, he'd 100% say yes. But when your boss and the ownership is kind of pushing you, like the mandate is we need to make the playoffs every year, like you can you can rebuild, you can bring in young players, but just know the overarching goal is always make the playoffs. So I think he's kind of tied up in that regard, where he's trying to do the right thing. Like you can see kind of hints of it, but then it's always pulled back, because at the end of the day for the Flames, it's always year by year, just get in and see what happens. And I think you're never going to complete a real rebuild trying to do that strategy. It's not going to happen. So he is in a tough spot. So I'll give him that.
Yeah, under those parameters, he's done all right, like the team is still where it was, and they have like significantly better prospect pool. I've seen people like starting their like whole league prospect pool rankings, like which teams have the best ones, and Flames are definitely top 10, if not top 5 for most people.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
And I think like this is kind of fun. One of the funny things of like getting to understand the win column crew a bit more is that like from the outside, a lot of people like kind of have mostly positive things to say about like, oh, Conroy's got 2 first rounders in back-to-back years, and the team's getting younger and they're building up, and you guys are like, there's no one to build around.
Yeah.
It's like paper mache house we're building here.
Yeah, for sure. I can get that from an outsider's perspective. You see a team that was supposed to tank this year and they missed out on the playoffs by a tiebreaker. Like I get how it's like, wow, they're really overachieving. They're well past the rebuild. They're kind of expedited it. But when you kind of peel the curtain and look at the results, and I mean, it was really Dustin Wolf. And after that, if Dustin Wolf didn't play the way he did this year, this team was absolutely a bottom 10 team.
Yeah, I mean, in the spirit of like not writing off them teenagers and how they're going to progress, like, it's more important, I think, who you draft than where you draft. There's lots of top 10 picks that are not good, so you could tank all year for a top 10 pick and then take Alex Nylander, and then what was it all for? So.
Where it's like, I mean, you guys got Parekh in the last draft. Yeah, he's 9th overall. He's looking like he could be the second best player in that draft. There's your top 2 pick you've been talking about that you need to build around, and then you got Dustin Wolf. So, yeah, you might not have the top caliber offensive prospects yet, but you build up, a solid blue line with Parekh, Brushevich, Miramanov. Like, it's just going to be
45-year-old Miramanov is going to take that step.
I feel like it's more so this team has just like killed all our optimism, right? Like back in those like late 2010s, like 2018 or 2022, it's like this team is one piece away from being a real contender. And then 2018, you win the division, you win the West, and you lose to the Avs in 5 in round 1. 2022, you win the division, you make it past round 1, but in 7, and then you lose to the Oilers in 5. So it's like,
yeah. And that was with an absolutely loaded roster too. Yeah. There's no Tkachuk on this team. There's no Gaudreau on this team. Like there's no Lindholm on this team. Like I'm not even a big Lindholm guy, but they don't really have a Lindholm.
No Trevor Lewis on the team anymore.
Yeah, there's no D Suts behind the bench. Like guy who can just whip his team into shape, slap some guys around for the third period. But yeah, I think there is something worth saying that the 2 best teams the Flames have had in the 2000 or since the lockout, I should say, in that 18-19, 21-22, it's like who was leading the charts? Monahan, 6th overall pick, Tkachuk, 6th overall pick. Like they had those high picks. Obviously, Gaudreau was a gem in getting the 4th round, but you can't really count on those to rebuild. But I think it does show something that when they were actually a competitive team, it was because of those top picks they got in that rebuild after Iginla. So I do think. I think they've built up a really, really good foundation of, obviously you've got Wolf, you've got Parekh, you've got your goalie, you've got your number 1 defenseman with a lot of other good defenders. They've got a ton of good wingers in their prospect group. They've got Rezny now, Potter. It's just that 1C. Like I think if they just bottom out even once, I think, and get a number 1 center, I could see a legitimate path where they could be a contender one day. It's just that one last piece, which is obviously the hardest piece to get. Every team who doesn't have an elite 1C is trying to get an elite 1C. So that's that one piece where I think if they could get that, I could start to see the light. But until then, I just don't see any path where this team even if all their prospects pan out, I just think you're going to have a team of very, very good players and no elite players, which isn't how you win. Like, look at the Dallas Stars, look at, some Carolina, like they're good, but then anytime it comes to play the big dogs and like Edmonton or Florida, they always fall flat because they don't have the McDavids, the Draisaitl's, the Kachucks, the Barkovs, which I think you need at least one of those guys on your team. So I think
to go back to Carolina and Dallas, they've got top picks. You've got Svechnikov, you've got Heiskanen. Like, I think I agree that you definitely need these guys to do it, but I think there's ways to build a team where you're not necessarily, you need maybe one or two of those guys. But I think that you look at someone like Chicago where they tore it all down to get Bedard. Where is Chicago going? Like, that team looks even more lost than the Oilers of yesteryear did. Like, it is a fine line. Like, look at Colorado, for instance. They had their ups and downs, and now they're a pretty good team, but they had good years and bad years. Like, I think that does more for a team than toiling for 5 years in the gutter and then trying to rise from the ashes. Like, the Oilers only did it because basically of McDavid. Like, maybe Draisaitl would have gotten there, but it was McDavid that was the catalyst for it. So all I'm saying is, you guys have a good prospect depth, and maybe don't be so resigned to the fact that there is no future. Like, the only thing stopping you guys from really getting there is the Oilers, so
there's a future for the Flames. It's just not a very fun one, but I think even if I don't think they need they can't go the Chicago road at this point. That is long past at this point, but yeah, I think just 1 year where if they could just get a bottom 10, then I could see a vision where they could become a contender. But yeah, like you said earlier with Wolf, I think that's going to be very, very tough. When you have a top 10 goalie, it's very, very hard to bottom out because, as we saw last year, he's going to pull you out of a lot of games you should not be in. Yeah. And that's why they almost made the playoffs last year. And as these guys continue to get better, I think they're just going to keep going up the standings with Wolf. I just don't know if they'll ever get over the hump. It could be a case of this is a good team for like a few years. They're first round, maybe second round, but are they going to be a contender? I think with this current group, I don't think so. But yeah, add that one more piece and I could see it. So I think if Wolf can just like go on a 12-year sabbatical 12-month sabbatical, let us get McKenna, let us get Vigo Bork, one of those guys.
Do it the convent to the Oilers. Everyone's happy.
Yeah, I'm fully on board with that. As long as the Panthers end up winning the finals, then that works for me.
Oh man. Daggers.
Yeah. Crazy. I mean, the Panthers have won more Stanley Cups in the last 2 years than the Flames have in their entire existence. Like, that's with the guy who was supposed to be the guy leading the Flames to that. So that's
the house that Tree Living built, right?
Yep. Tree Living just out here building dynasties. He helped build Montreal's now too. So that's his next step.
Oh my God, seriously.
He sends them the 16th pick that they used to get Noah Dobson. They also use Emil Heineman, who True Living traded for Toffoli. So, yeah, he's just low-key building multiple franchises or contenders in the East, except for his own teams.
True Living is like the Toronto Blue Jays. In on everyone, don't get anything. Right? Like, I just on just today or yesterday, like, apparently they were in on Turka too, and they didn't get him.
Yeah, I don't miss seeing those headlines all the time. The Flames are the runners-up for Stone. They were the runners-up for Eichel. They were the runners-up for whoever. And now it's just funny that that's what Toronto's going through. And
it's funny though, because I remember we were the runners-up for Eichel, and I remember the deal breaker was we didn't want to trade Kachuk, and when trading him for Uyghur and Huberdeau, Cole Schwinn.
A couple of years later,
So,
and a first-round pick that was 32nd overall. Although I do like Colin Potter, but
I think it would be a little better than Colin Potter.
I think the Stone trade. Yeah. Colin Potter, no pressure, but you got to be better than Matthew Tkachuk and win us 3 cups for us to win that trade. So it's up to you, buddy. That's our only hope of winning that trade at this point. So
at least you're not putting like a lot of pressure on this 18-year-old kid.
No. He's got even if it takes 20 years of your whole career, if you can get us 3 cups, I'll say we won the trade. But yeah, he's got some time. He's got a couple decades.
He's got the bloodlines for it, right? So he knows what it takes to perform under pressure. Like
what his mom was a gold medalist, I think, or
or
silver medalist or something. yeah, Team USA, so probably a silver medalist, but still pretty good.
That's good.
Well, enough about prospects, because from the Oilers' perspective, outside of Savoy and O'Reilly especially, we're not really looking at anyone coming in soon other than our European contingents, which I think that's the way you have to do it here. But I think for free agency, as an Oilers fan, it's been kind of disappointing. I don't know if Flames, if you guys have anything on your end, but from an Oilers perspective, losing Perry and Brown sucks. Granted, we're not signing them to those contracts, but I think losing those guys and only adding Mangiapane is not great. I don't know, Greg, if you have any other thoughts on this.
I have a lot more thoughts. I'm pretty positive on it.
Yeah.
I have lots of points here. Let me try to get them out right. I think a lot of the best work was kind of moving off of big contracts like Arvidsson and Kane. That's $9 million. You even get assets in return to do that. Mangiapane is kind of like a re-roll on the Victor Arvidsson experiment, middle six, smaller guy, but plays with some dimension, can maybe score. Frederick, I guess the deal looks okay. It's long, but the cap hit is low, and he's still in his late 20s. Yeah, I think part of the reason why I'm okay kind of going with a thinner forward group free agent wise and not winning the opening days of free agency, which does not matter, is that a lot of the upward mobility of the roster, a lot of the guys that maybe could make an impact on the NHL next year are wingers, like Savoy. Even Quinn Hudson is if I'm going to kind of gamble on a thin spot for my roster to have to afford the new extension for Bouchard or whatever, it's going to be on the wings by definition, because I think it's the least valuable position. And also it's going to be we have McDavid and Draisaitl down the middle. I think they're going to be able to figure it out and bring the best out of whoever they're playing with. So I think it's a good bet to kind of go a bit thinner on the wings than they were last season. Skinner's not back either, but
not yet.
I think those are, I think Jeff Skinner, to be clear. Yeah.
No, I know.
But
I'm saying not yet. He hasn't signed anywhere.
Yeah, he hasn't, but I don't know how much he enjoyed being a healthy scratch when it's 1,000 games to get his first playoff game, and then it's see you later. No, thank you. That was a nice story. So yeah, I actually kind of liked the moves in free agency or so far, and I like just the general strategy of going a bit thinner. I think free agencies, that's this is kind of when you make all the dumb decisions. I don't want to win July 3rd. I think that's a recipe for disaster. Look at the winners last year in Nashville and stuff. Go on these spending sprees, and it rarely turns out as well as you hope. And I think that honestly, you could kind of wait until the second or third wave of free agency and find maybe the better value, the shorter the deals, the lower cap hits. There's still some decent names out there, like Jack Roslovic or former Oiler Klim Kostin. Obviously not franchise defining players, but would you rather overpay on the first day for a middle six winger, or now get Roslovic presumably at a lower contract?
Roslovic could be, especially if it's at a cheap contract, that would be a very savvy pickup based on how he was playing and stuff.
Yeah, the Oilers won't do it. They don't have the space. I think right now maybe the biggest thing for the Oilers is McDavid not signing the extension. Is it because they're coming back with the same goalies? Is there anyone else they can do, especially since they have no cap space already, but run back the same goalies? They're changing the goalie coach finally after many, many years. My Flames friends, I don't know if you are into this story at all, of Dustin Schwartz, the goalie coach. But yes,
I have a lot of things to say
Long-standing.
about
Yeah.
Dustin Schwartz in that whole scenario. I mean, regardless of, I'm not there. Obviously, a goalie coach is a lot more in the background than other coaches, especially. But at the end of the day, if you over 10 years, you fire how many coaches and coaching staffs that we have, and this guy stays, and it's not like we're a Vancouver Canucks where it seems like we just pick up any guy off the street and all of a sudden he's one of the best goalies in the league. We're doing the opposite. We're taking goalies who are actually playing pretty well and they start to lose it. So, but even if that wasn't the case, at the end of the day, like it is mind-boggling that he lasted this long. Is the fact that they're going to get a new goalie coach here going to change anything? Who knows?
Yeah,
but
who knows if it's enough?
If it does, like that is an indictment on the organization, I would say. If it really completely changes it. Like, granted, Skinner's shown in the past he can be good. Again, with Schwartz as his coach, I know that Schwartz was his coach growing up or what have you. So, is that going to be all on Schwartz or not? On Schwartz leaving or not? Who knows? But again, it's a as a fan, I think maybe for the team and for the players, it's not really that big of a deal. But I think as a fan, where we're looking at all of this stuff where we don't know enough, that is definitely something that I think bothers a lot of people when you think about, especially in a fan base like the Oilers that has been traumatized by an old boys club story for how many years, and you see this and it's like, he's not even an old boy. Like, what is he getting that treatment for? But
yeah, well,
we'll see. I mean, I think the other thing too is, like you said, we don't really have the cap space. I think Bowman and the Oilers management in terms of goaltending, I assume their mindset, and frankly, I would agree with it, was probably, if we're going to get a new goalie over Skinner, it has to be a very clear, like obvious upgrade. We're not going to get rid of Skinner for a Magic Bean again, or someone who like
Merzlikins, let's say.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, because if that doesn't pan out, it's not, you're now taking a swing at something and it's gone worse. Like, I understand that mindset. Would I have liked to have been in on Gibson? I think so. I think that would have been a worthy gamble, but I can also understand why they wouldn't. But I think, you talked about the fact we don't have cap space. I don't think the Oilers are done for the offseason. I think they still have some moves. It's going to have to involve trades of some kind. But I also see what you're saying in terms of, Greg, you and I were talking about it just before this, the players we've got to potentially fit into the lineup to cover the guys we've lost. There's some decent bets there. You've got this Tomaszek guy who, he's 29 years old, but he's been really good, and they've paid him 1.2. They expect things from him, I'm sure. Hudson, Savoy,
Jarventi, if he can stay healthy.
Like Szymanski maybe comes in. Maybe that's a bit.
That's rich, yeah.
Yeah,
maybe.
Like you've got what, 3, not even like 2 spots maybe that are up for grabs, when you've got potentially 5 or 6 guys who are hungry for a spot, fighting for it. Maybe it works out. The defense is still looking pretty good. Like, you've got a solid defense core there as well.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
So I understand the sitting pat part of it, and maybe people are freaking out because A, you just like to see moves, and B, McDavid's comments of how he's going to re-sign and stuff. But
right, it seemed lukewarm.
Yeah,
more lukewarm than fans would want.
Yeah, I mean, Drexler goes the same way too. So if the puck drops in October and McDavid's not signed, then I'll start to worry a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, because it's the last year. This could be it.
Well, I mean, and I think I said it last time. Like, everyone's like, "Oh, he wants to go to a winning team." The Oilers aren't a winning team.
Yeah, he's going to sign in Florida for $900K. Yeah.
The only team that has won more than the Oilers in the last 4 years has been Florida. Full stop. Tampa Bay and Dallas and Carolina are like kind of there as well. Like, so
that kind of leads into my point of like, we're seeing the rise in cap, right? And I don't know how much you guys have looked around the league, or maybe if you just want to keep it like within the Pacific Division here, it's like lots of teams have holes. There's more and more teams coming into the league. Is the talent getting watered down? People are talking about these things. I think right now this is a time where you're going to kind of look at every roster, maybe say Florida, and be like, man, there's some real questions I have. Vegas with that right side, as much as I like Caden Korzak, is like not Pietrangelo. So I don't know. How do you guys think the Pacific Division is stacking up? We have another former Alberta GM, Ken Holland, doing stuff down there in LA. We have maybe like the Ducks coming up. I don't know if anyone's a believer in the young Ducks over there. No.
Yeah. I mean, LA is an interesting case because they had so much cap to burn. So I can kind of understand maybe throwing some money around when you've got, a pretty decent situation. I don't know if both Cody Ceci and Brian Dumoulin deserve $4 million contracts, especially on long term. Again, it seems like it's an LA team that, it's Holland going with let's go with a heavier defense, a heavier team to try and beat the Oilers. And that's all it seems like LA is trying to do every year, is trying to come up with a different formula to beat the Oilers. And I think trading Jordan Spence to get those two guys is not it. I already thought they made some bad decisions getting rid of Dursey and Waugh the years prior. It almost worked out for them last year, but I don't think that's the case. Vegas, yeah, like you said, in terms of the whole, with Pietrangelo gone, Theodore, Hannafin, good players. McNabb is all right. No one else there really.
Sounds like a couple teams. Sounds like some teams that need Rasmus Anderson to me.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, LA. I think with Holland, it sounds like Anderson was his plan A. Like, apparently he offered up a boatload for him. Anderson was like, I don't want to sign there, which is mind-boggling to me. Who doesn't want to live in LA and play in LA? That's just so strange to me. But I think then we saw classic Holland, where he had to go to his plan B, which was pay Cody Ceci and Brian Dumoulin a boatload of money, which makes absolutely no sense. So that was kind of funny to see. He had the right intentions with Anderson. That would have been a good ad for them. And then when that didn't go right, he's like, all right, let's just go give Cody Ceci a gigantic contract. So I think LA could be in trouble, honestly. I think they're already like struggling to they couldn't get past the first round. And now I think with Holland behind the helm, there might be a sinking ship. So, and then with those contracts he handed out, but Vegas, they need Anderson pretty badly. So maybe that's a saving grace. Like we talked about earlier, how the Flames are probably resigned to getting a pretty poor return from Vegas, given Anderson only wants to go there. But I mean, I think they do have some valuable assets to offer. It's just, will they offer them, or will they sit back and say like, well, we know he only wants to come here, so why would we pay you? Why would we give you Trevor Connolly, or why would we give you, one of our first round picks or whatever? Because like we can just lowball you, and eventually you're going to have to take it, just like you did with Hannafin. So it's an interesting case where I think there's a very clear fit with Anderson in Vegas. He wants to go there. Vegas obviously wants him. It just depends. Are they going to be willing to pay up, or are they going to try to just hardball Conroy and just hope they can float without him? Which hopefully is not the case, because I think if you can get like their 2027 first even, and like Jacob Eos Wozniak, who they took in the second round this past year, like could Caden Korzak be a potential return? Like he could be a fit on the Flames, or like Connolly. I know he has some off ice issues, but like they do have a couple decent assets where I could sit back and say, okay, that's an okay return for Anderson and we can all be happy. But the fact that apparently the original deal they had in place was for Nick Hague, and then he didn't want to sign in Calgary, and that's why it was off.
It's a tough look.
That's a lot of alarm bells going off. That Craig Conroy was a Nick Hague signature away from trading Anderson for Nick Hague, and then signing him long term, which I wouldn't be on this pod right now if that happened. I would be somewhere out at sea or something. But I think, yeah, it's definitely a red flag if that's the type of players that Conroy is targeting. And then going back to free agency too, apparently he tried to sign Ryan Lindgren, who went to Seattle, I believe, but Lindgren didn't want to come to Calgary. Apparently they were the runners up for Keandre Miller until Carolina kind of strong-armed New York with an offer sheet potential. So that kind of forced them to trade him to Carolina. So Conroy missed out there. And then apparently they're in on Bowen Byram as well. So Conroy's obviously trying to cook up something on defense. I don't think he's cooking up something good. Sounds pretty ugly to me. I think Keandre Miller's probably the only one I could have got behind. I think he's legitimately would have been a good fit with the Flames. I don't know. Yeah, he would have been a good fit on the left side, like given the size and everything. I don't know if I would have liked to pay that price Carolina played. They paid a pretty big, hefty haul, which for the Flames to give up picks and prospects for a 25-year-old does not make sense. So again, like,
no.
We will never know. We'll probably never know what the Flames are offering, but if that's what it was, that's, again, alarm bells going off that we may be in for a potential stinker here with the Anderson trade if Nick Hague is the guy that's getting targeted. So, again, I'll try to hold my judgment, but I do think that there's obviously a fit with Vegas and Calgary. It's just going to come down to, can Conroy win the kind of arms race in terms of getting them to pay what he thinks is fair value and not get pushed around like he did with Hanifin, and hopefully, given he's got another year under his belt, he can kind of make that work or hold out long enough that Vegas gets scared that another team's going to step up and they end up paying up. So I think there's a path forward where Vegas and Calgary can make a fair deal. Everyone's happy. Vegas gets the top 4 defensemen. Flames get some future assets. It just depends.
The Anaheim, Pat Verbeek doesn't seem like him.
Yeah, that would be a pretty... Verbeek, honestly, kind of...
Future, and they just got rid of it almost. So it's like...
Yeah, I've heard...
Now, so.
I heard Zellweger might be available, which is like, I'd be interested in Zellweger, but again...
Give us we'll give you Anderson and a bag of pucks.
Yeah, literally. Like Anaheim would be a good trade, honestly. They've got a ton of assets. They're trying to get better now. But again, the question is, will Anderson want to go there? Probably not. Like, I think he's probably got, like, according to Friedman, he's got, like, maybe 3 teams in mind, which is probably Vegas, like Tampa, Florida. So that really makes it tough. But
if he didn't want to go to LA, I can't see him wanting to go to Anaheim.
Yeah, that one's going to be in the back of my mind for a while, because apparently it's Ken Holland, so he's going to offer up an insane package that was way more than Anderson's worth. And the fact that Anderson didn't want to go to LA is just mind-boggling to me. I don't know if he has like some sort of vendetta against the Kings, maybe, or Drew Doughty, because Drew Doughty's stinky and looks like he's homeless. Maybe that's why. But like, it's just such a weird situation that he didn't want to go there, and I think that could come back to haunt us. But who knows? Maybe Conroy figures it out. But
before Carolina got Keandre Miller, I was like really hoping you would send him to Carolina, because I'm like, I have a feeling he'd sign there. They made it to the Eastern Conference Final multiple times. They have assets. They've capped to give him a contract, but then when they got Keandre Miller, that's not going to happen anymore.
Yeah, I think that's the problem too. Like Carolina, Columbus apparently was very interested. Anderson didn't want to go there. Ottawa was interested. He didn't want to go there. Like all those teams have like legitimately good assets to offer up. Like especially Carolina, Columbus, Ottawa, LA. Like they have good assets, and he didn't want to go to any of those places. So all 4 of those teams kind of pivoted. Ottawa got Spence. Columbus just re-signed Provorov and Fabro. LA, signed CC obviously and Dumoulin. So it's, and then Carolina got Miller. So now it's like, not only does Anderson only have a couple teams he wants to go to, the potential teams that would have been interested probably aren't anymore, at least at this point, because they kind of filled their holes. They didn't want to wait around. So I think, it's going to be a tough situation for Conroy, and hopefully he can kind of snake his way out of it. But it's, Nick Hague, that's some major alarm bells going off. If you're trying to acquire a 26-year-old bottom pairing defenseman and then sign him for, what did he sign for? Like $4.5-5 million in Nashville. Yeah, that's very scary.
For like $1 million less than what you just signed Kevin Ball to.
Yeah, it's just, it would not have made any sense. So thank you, Nick Hague, for not wanting to come to Calgary. Like, for once, I'm thanking someone for not wanting to play in Calgary. So thank you. Same goes for you, Ryan Lindgren, because that also would not have been a good contract to sign. Yeah, credit where it's due. At least, I mean, Connor's trying to make a splash. He's trying to shake things up at the very least, which is sometimes better than doing nothing. So I can credit him for that.
But and credit him for the Ball contract maybe too, if that's looking good.
Yeah, he's done a good job re-signing. Like, I think the Ball contract's maybe a little rich, but if he can be a good second pairing guy like he was last year for the length of that contract, that's more than fine. Morgan Frost, like the AAV, I don't really care about because they have so much cap. It's more the term, and the fact they only did it for 2 years, I think, is perfect. You kind of see if he can, be anything with the Flames. If not, just kind of let him go. I think you didn't really pay much for him in the first place. Like, just kind of see if he can be a middle six center. If not, then you can let him go into the wind and wherever he goes. But yeah, I think internal business, Connor's done a good job. Obviously, outside the Anderson situation, so I think it's his off season's been hit or miss, which it's kind of been the case with his whole tenure, I would say.
Ball, I think, is so important, just like with all the offensive right shots coming in, like to have like a more stable, like bigger defensive left shot that can pair with, any of those guys. I'm hesitant to include Muse, but yeah, even Muse, like it's like a lot of your best defensive prospects are unlocked by Ball being there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he seems like he could be a perfect fit alongside one of those guys, like a big, heavy left shot defenseman, like stay-at-home guy who can let Perek do what he has to do offensively, or Muse maybe even one day, or Brustevich. Like, so that's why I think the Keandre Miller deal, I could see the idea behind it. Good, similar type of player who could play on the left side. Like Lindgren, not so much. Hag, not so much.
The Grushnikov truthers are coming out. Anyway.
Honestly, I forgot Grushnikov existed, but I think
the only thing is, if we got Miller, right, like your right side eventually will be Perek, Brustevich, and Muse, right? And then if you bring in Miller, you have Ball, Miller on the left. Where are you going to play weaker? Because his contract still goes for a little bit of time, right? So
yeah, that's the thing.
He can play the left, right?
Yeah, but then you're not going to put him on like a third pairing, paying him like 6.5, right?
Yeah, Uyghur is a weird one because he can play the left, but I think the Flames want to play him on the right. It's just they have a logjam, obviously, with Anderson there, and then with all the guys coming up, which I think that's something they're gonna have to sort out, especially in 2027 when Cale Makar signs here. So that's gonna be.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, they're gonna.
When Makar comes here, when we get DuPont first overall, because he like holds out.
Yeah, so.
I wonder why there's a shortage of right D around the league. They're all in Calgary, right?
Yeah, we're just gonna hoard every offensive small right D in the league, and then just our forwards will get outscored by our defense all season, and that's how we're gonna win.
And then we'll trade them to get McKenna and Maddox Schultz eventually.
Yeah, hey, that's honestly though, I think that could be a strategy. Like you have so many right shot offensive defensemen. I've already heard about Muse kind of being thrown around. Like, could it be a guy you could use like to pick up a Paterka or something like that? So down the line, I think it's never bad to be stacked at one position because you can use that to fill other holes. So, and yeah, I think Muse is probably the guy. He's a rung below Brustevich and Perek for now. Could he be a guy you could use to pick up like a Marco Rossi or something, like to help your center depth maybe? So I think there's a lot of possibilities out there. I do think though, for now, it seems like the Flames are probably just going to run it back and then, see how far Wolf can take them essentially, and kind of go from there. So, but I think there's definitely a lot of moving parts with the defense with Anderson and the uncertain future for him. So we'll see what happens, but just praying that it's not a Nick Hague type return because I can't deal with that.
Yeah, Josh, I know you mentioned Marco Rossi. As much as I'd love Rossi, get that young center in, maybe it could be a 2C or something for them. I don't like the fact that he's a left shot, right? I feel the Flames have too many left shot guys. They need, especially like a right shot center, right? I don't know what you think about that. Like, even like a guy like, obviously you're not going to get like Dylan Cousins, he just got traded, but almost a guy like him, I feel like would be a better fit.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, I was going when I was looking at our prospect rankings and kind of tallying up by position, it's like left wing, left wing, left wing, left wing, left wing, right D, right D, right D, right D. It's like there's no centers, specifically right shots, and there's no right wings in the system. So those are two major holes that I think you're going to have to look to fill at some point here.
It's funny because like Potter was a wing, I'm pretty sure, with ASU, but then when Conroy was like, oh, we have in mind that we're going to play him as a center. I don't know how well, right? I haven't watched.
It's a savvy play.
I haven't watched Potter enough to see if he has the ability to play center. But
yeah, I think that's a risky bet for sure. Given his size, I think he's more like probably turns into a winger. I think he has like legitimately, like second line, maybe even like low end first line winger. I think counting on a guy like that to play center, probably not the best strategy. But given the Flames have such little depth down the middle. I mean, it makes sense when Conroy's hoping that he can become a center. Even like some of the later guys they picked in the draft, like just center. So he's trying to just add quantity because they don't have that quality. So it could work out, but you could also just end up with a case where you've got like 3 second line centers and no number one. And is that something you're going to be able to win with? I don't know. I don't know if that's ever been a strategy a team's used, at least probably not in the cap era. But I think there's still a lot of work to be done in terms of building up that center group. So it's going to be an interesting season. And the next couple of months should kind of, I think, tell the tale of how the season's going to go. If Anderson's still around in October, then we could be in for a bit of a distracting season in terms of just everyone kind of when's Anderson going to get traded, when's Anderson going to get traded, versus if he's gone, I think you can kind of focus more on, building the team out and kind of seeing how the season goes, which I think is the optimal decision. But at the end of the day, if the offers aren't there, then I don't blame Conroy for sticking it out, because you don't want to just give in and get fleeced by Vegas. So, all right, everyone, thanks for listening once again to our rambling and ranting about the Flames and Oilers. As always, like, subscribe, follow, listen on your podcast platform of choice, and we'll see you in the next one.